Hey everybody, it's Edie. I don't really upload to YouTube anymore, but every single year I get multiple requests for me to do a full video walkthrough of my home after I've decorated for Halloween. And unfortunately, I have not even been able to decorate my house fully for the past couple years for various reasons. And this year I am actually fully decorated, so I'm gonna do the full walkthrough. I got so many people asking me for this video this year. So I'm gonna do the full video walkthrough. I was gonna do my makeup and get dressed and put on the lighting and clean the house and go through the whole thing, but to be honest, I don't have the energy for that anymore. So this is my house, it's lived in. You might hear my dogs bark. They're probably gonna follow me around and be tip-tapping all along the video. It is what it is, and if I tried to make everything perfect, I would never film this video. So here we go. I'm gonna flip the camera around and do the full video walkthrough. I'm going to show you everything with the lights on so that you can see everything nice and bright and like actually see the items. And then I'll go through and turn all the lights off and do a full walkthrough at night with the lights, just the Halloween lights on. So I'm gonna turn the camera and get started. Okay, I'm gonna start with the mantle area. I kind of do the same general idea for my fireplace every year. I use my headless horseman on my mantle, and then I always put my village, my Christmas village and my Halloween village down in the fireplace. We don't use the fireplace, so it's always for decorations. So I'll take you in and show you closer up on everything. That was my first headless horseman, and you can see that I have painted him and altered him quite a bit. I made this Sleepy Hollow print, and I think that headless horseman was the only one that I got this year. The other ones I've just acquired over the last few years. Most of my decor is either vintage or vintage inspired. So I do have new pieces, obviously, but I think they all are pretty cohesive, and the vintage blends well with the new pieces that I do have. So this is our Halloween village. My son usually sets this up every year, but he is not going to be here for Halloween this year. And you will notice that my village, that I only have this one house lit up this year, this one building. That's the one that I got this year. And I tried to get one new village piece per year, and I would love to have them all lit up individually. However, each one takes its own plug, and for me that doesn't work. So instead I set up my village, and then I string lights running all throughout the village. If I get a new piece this year, I will light it up, but typically I never run the sound, and some of the lights can be very overpowering, and I don't like that. I like everything to kind of blend together and just be immersed in the little village. So no, my village does not light up with each individual plug. I got these from Dollar Tree this year. And these are all vintage foam jack-o'-lanterns. We have the candlesticks on both sides of the mantle. And then this is our bar. You can't really tell it's a bar right now, but that is our bar. I love these Martha Stewart ghosts. I have those three, and then you will see more of them as we go throughout the house. I have a bunch of them on the stairs. You'll see I have die cuts all along the walls. I love when you walk through, like when you watch old Halloween movies or Halloween episodes, the die cuts were always just in the most random places. So that's how you'll see my die cuts placed. I like the feel of when you walk through my house. I want it to feel like you're walking through the neighborhood of Hocus Pocus. So each little area is like a different house in the neighborhood, and you know, the die cuts are in the random places, and each area has its own little theme. These, what are they called? Fiber optic, I couldn't think of the word. These fiber optic jack-o'-lanterns I just got this year. I also got the jack-o'-lantern shelf sitting guy. I got him this year. I found this vintage jack-o'-lantern blow mold on the bottom for like 79 cents a couple weeks ago. I also got both of those other vintage jack-o'-lanterns this year. Like I said, most of my pieces are either vintage or vintage inspired. My son collects we call them jelly pumpkins. My son collects those, and I found that one for him this year, but he's not here, so I have it lit up with our stuff. Gonna come around, I have to walk around my couch, so sorry that kind of got a little wonky there. So this area is one of my favorite areas. I picked up the Frankenstein and Witch from Marketplace. They don't work, and I don't care. I absolutely love them. And then I have a Monster High high school castle here that I spray painted black. And then I have a ton of vintage Madame Alexander McDonald's Christmas, or McDonald's Halloween Happy Meal toys. Well, they might have come at Christmas time too. But they were all already in little outfits, and I basically changed all of their outfits to make them look like little trick-or-treaters. So for example, she was a princess in a pink dress with just the cone hat. So I had to alter her hat and paint her dress. Some of them required more work than others. So for the Bride of Frankenstein, I literally had to rip her head off, take her hair, and that's clay that I made. The little robot I built from scratch. Obviously, I made all of these pretty much from scratch. I started with the doll and then altered it to fit the themes that I like better. The little the little Tin Man was the Tin Man, so I didn't change him at all. And then you also see that I have some of the little Target dollar spot ornaments. They just fit perfectly. I have a little Sam in there. And then these are some vintage ornaments that me, my husband, and my son painted one Halloween. And then just some other little trick-or-treating costume themed people as well. I made that pumpkin head girl as well. You'll see I have a bunch of vintage VHS tapes. I actually made those. So they are real VHS tapes, but the movie that's on the tape is not necessarily, is absolutely not for certain what the label says. So I made the labels for each movie for some of my favorite Halloween movies. I also made the Dracula. And then coming around this way, I have a couple of the Target vintage sounding characters, which I absolutely love. I just found these little blow molds, the Dracula, Ghost, and Frankenstein. There's another set of them over there. I just found them, so I didn't really have any idea where to put them, so they're just kind of in here for right now. You can see the corner for my dog toys. This area is just some little ghosts. And then this is my little trick-or-treat area. The trick-or-treat DVD is actually the trick-or-treat DVD. I took it out of the sleeve, so this side here is the actual DVD case, and that's just the sleeve. The cassettes are fake, though. They are real cassette tapes and real cassette tape cases, but I printed the labels myself. This is a vintage Beastal die cut. And then coming over here on my little table, I have some trick-or-treat and Halloween books. I forgot to turn my little guy on. These are some more of the cassettes that I made. So I printed the labels for the cassettes or for the cases. I'm just gonna turn this on real quick because I forgot it. Oh, there we go. And this is a vintage animatronic that I altered. It was a little caroler, a Christmas caroler that I turned into a pumpkin head kid. All right, so I'm gonna come out of the living room. Oh, let me show you one other blanket on the couch. This is the archway, and I made that display as well with vintage jack-o'-lanterns and leaves that I got from Hobby Lobby. Now I'm gonna go around through to the kitchen and I'll hit these areas as I come back. So this is the kitchen. And again, I have the vintage die cuts kind of just in random places. So I have little details kind of everywhere. I absolutely love these vintage pans, these vintage baking pans. So I have 2 sets of each pan that I have found 2 of. Let me rephrase that. If I found a new wrapped, never used pan, I will use that and bake in it. However, some of these I found 2 of. So I found one new wrapped, never been used, and then I would find one at the thrift store. So you can see here, this one has a thrift store price tag on it. So I unwrapped and opened up the brand new one. I mean, it's from 1990, whatever, but it's brand new, never been used. So I would take the wrapper off and put the paper wrapper on the one that I would never bake in so that I could bake in the one that I know is safe, that I know has never had anything in it, and I know it's safe to put food in. So on top of the fridge, I have another one of those vintage cake pans, a charcuterie book, and some blow mold, well, plastic, but you know what I mean. More of those vintage pans. These are actually rocks. My best friend painted to look like candy corn for me. And I will also take like vintage platters that I find and just stick them up as decor as well. You'll see them in a few places. That witch actually does work. Oh, I forgot to light that jack-o'-lantern as well. She does work, but I don't have her turned on right now. So you'll see I just have the platters and the baking pans just kind of set in place as decor. Clean dishes. These are all little vintage pieces. These are vintage mugs. They're plastic, but like I would never drink out of these. I got these from the thrift store. This is actually, I'll show you while I'm here. This is actually my Halloween mug collection. I drink out of Halloween mugs all year. So those up there are the ones that I drink out of all year round. And then these are the ones that I pull out just for Halloween. So that is a vintage die cut that I just print. So let me talk about these for just a second. Some of my die cuts are actually vintage, like these. All of these are actually vintage die cuts. But I do have quite a few that I have printed. So what I did was find a bunch of images of vintage die cuts that I really liked. And I printed them on heavy, not cardstock, but just heavier weight paper at 11 by 14, or no, 11 by 17 size. I just printed them at FedEx and cut them out. So they're not quite die cut thickness, but they are pretty thick. And instead of either not being able to find it or, you know, paying $50 for one die cut, I paid less than $3 per die cut. And I don't feel bad about that because I'm not trying to sell it. They're just for me. I'm not like trying to make money from these. These are fake cookies and more fake candy corn. I have set these out at parties before and had people actually like try to eat them and then not tell me. And when I go to you know, clean or move them or whatever, I would find teeth marks in my little fake candy corn. That's another die cut that I printed, another die cut that I printed. These are the True Tone bulbs. I have mixed feelings about the True Tone bulbs. I got the McDonald's McBoo bucket this year. I got her from Home Goods this year, and she's supposed to have in this hand, she's supposed to have a really long swirly candy stick, but I didn't realize that when I bought mine and she didn't have it. So I had this little lantern that I got from Michael's miniature section, and I just let her hold that. This is another thing that I've made. My Clark Griswold plug situation happening here. Smart plugs and timers are so good. I love it when things have smart plugs. Oh, when things have timers on them. If they don't, then I will put them on a smart plug when I can. Die cut that I printed, another one of those vintage sounding guys from Target. Another vintage die cut. I loved a couple of these vintage looking motion censored hanging things from Target this year. This was another item that we had when my son was little. Ours stopped working, and I found this one at a thrift store. Ours was also missing the body. So he's supposed to have an entire body, like a skeleton body, that it sways and moves back and forth when he sings his little song. Ours quit working, and then the motion stopped, and then the sound stopped. This one actually works perfectly, but he's just a head, so. Oh, that guy is super sensitive. If you're thinking about getting it from Target, just know he is the most sensitive sound activated thing I've ever experienced. So I have these Martha Stewart ghosts going up the staircase. And then I'll come into my dining room. I have items that I'm selling in a little group over here, so it is what it is. These are both vintage die cuts. That says Happy Halloween. I don't know if it's really translating on video, but it does say Happy Halloween. I have two of these fall home interior prints. I love those prints. I actually owned 4 of them at one time, but I had found some that were damaged, and since then I have replaced them with ones that are like in mint condition. So I know the light's gonna be kind of a glare on here. I'll try to like show these things without as much of a glare as possible, but I don't really want to open all the doors. I can't even get to all the doors right now because of the stuff I'm selling. This is a witch that we've had since my son was little, and every year it's a joke that I need to paint her, and every year I don't. That's a Sims cow plant that I made years and years and years ago. We have the Lord of the Rings Rivendell Lego set, the Hocus Pocus Lego set. I have the Hocus Pocus spellbook replica that I made, and the Black Flame candle that I made. More little vintage guys. I'm gonna come around on the other side and show you the last door. I love this scarecrow. I love scarecrows. The scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz specifically. My son played the scarecrow in a play in high school, and like he was born to play that role. So I have a thing for the scarecrow. You'll see a few of them throughout. Another vintage die cut that I printed. This is kind of like my little witchy room. This is a vintage fabric bag. I actually found the fabric on eBay, and then I made the bag myself. And all of my little animatronics, well, not all of them. She works. Quite a few of them work, but some of them do not. So I'll open this door. We've had that pumpkin for, I don't even know how long, since my son was a kid. He'll turn 25 this year. He turns 25 in a couple of days. I'm actually downsizing it. This is all Halloween stuff that I'm getting rid of. And I've already gotten rid of probably 3 times that much stuff. So that's what all of that is. All right, this is another set of the True Tone lights with more leaves that I got from Hobby Lobby. That's another vintage die. Well, actually, my son and I were talking about AI and how people use it in art, and how bad that can be. And just in our conversation, we were using AI to create these images. And like, I would never sell this. I'm not trying to sell this, so I don't mind printing it for myself. But I did love the way the images turned out. So there are a few in the living room. I can't remember if I showed them or not, but the majority of my images are vintage die cuts that I just found the image of and print. But I have, I think, 5 or 6 that my son and I made together using AI, and this is one of them. Okay, so now I'm gonna come into, actually let me take you to the, sorry, that probably just made you really dizzy. Let me take you into the entryway this way, and then I will show you the library. So this is the entry, my front door, and this is a very large fabric panel. Again, I found the fabric on eBay, and then I made the panel myself. So it's actually got a layer of batting in the center, and it's double-sided. So for Thanksgiving, I will just flip it around. And again, I love, like in old Halloween movies and episodes, they'll just be like random die cuts on top of things or just stuck on the wall in random places. So that's kind of the way I have put my die cuts up. I have the, was it Catherine's collection? I think that's what he's from. Really fucking expensive Frankenstein, I can tell you that. So I have him, and he has his little trick-or-treat bucket. He has another trick-or-treat bag on his other hand. I'll show you that from the other side. And then I have the, he's kind of an afterthought hanging here because this Frankenstein stays out every single day of the year. He's out all year round. He's our butler, that's what we call him. He pretty much freaks out any person that walks into my house because he is here all year round. But the Dracula, I couldn't decide where to hang him, and all of my Frankenstein and Dracula stuff is in my library, so I hung him in the entryway. I don't love how close these two big items are to each other, but again, this is just what it is this year. So coming into my library is kind of Frankenstein themed all year, kind of. My bedroom is Frankenstein themed all year. My library is kind of Frankenstein all year. That's a vintage die cut that I printed. Another image that my son and I made on the AI conversation that I printed. That's the real Frankenstein puzzle. Got this guy from Target this year. I did have a Dracula bust sitting right there, but I have robot vacuums, and my robot vacuum snagged on one of my creepy cloths and pulled all of those items into the floor, and my Dracula bust shattered. So I have to actually try to glue him back together. That's why that spot's empty right now. Another vintage die cut that I printed. The Frankenstein and Bride are foam heads that I painted, and I got the Count Chocula from Ross this year. Another vintage die cut that I printed. I actually found the Gene Wilder and Monster and, oh, there he is, and the Dracula, the Hammer Dracula and the Young Frankenstein dolls while I was on vacation at a used bookstore. Or no, was it a comic store? It might have been a combination used bookstore and comic bookstore. Oh, that's just books. We've had this hand for years. It's one of those hands that's supposed to like crawl along on its own. It doesn't work anymore, and I pulled the wires out so it would look a little bit more Frankenstein-ish. I got this cool Jekyll and Hyde bust from Michael's this year. Another vintage die cut that I printed. Got these from Target this year. Another vintage die cut that I printed. Another vintage die cut that I printed. I made that pumpkin head girl. I think the rest of that's just books. I got this Frankenstein from TJ Maxx this year. You can probably hear my husband's fish tank. This little dapper guy always goes in the library. That is the Bride of Frankenstein is actually a lamp that I made. So underneath here is like a cage, and there's a light bulb in there, and her bottom half actually lights up. And this is my altar. All right, so now I will take you back through the entryway this way and show you everything here. That is an actual Beastal die cut. I got him this week, brand new in the package, never been opened. I got him for $2 on Marketplace. And then I felt so bad about opening him up, but I didn't buy him to keep him in the package. I bought him to use. I love using my vintage items, actually putting them up and using them as they were meant to be used. And I will put little, oh, I almost knocked a pumpkin over. I will put little details in all the little nooks and crannies. I actually got this little noisemaker and it works like brand new. I won't squeeze it because it's really loud. In a bin at a thrift store this week. All right, so coming down the hallway, oh, let me show you this little guy here too. There's stuff everywhere, like everywhere you look. And you probably see leaves and stuff on my floor because we have plants and they shed leaves. That is our advent calendar. So yeah, most of my stuff is vintage or vintage inspired, or at least goes well with the vintage items. I love the way my hallway looks at night with the hall light off. These pumpkins, these are my favorite jack-o'-lanterns. These are all from Dollar Tree. They used to be $5. I don't think they even sell them anymore, but I love the way these things look. The flame, the way it flickers, they are so realistic. They are so perfect. I love them. All right, these are a combination of new and vintage die cuts. So that one's new from Target this year, new from Target this year. Vintage. New, the witch is new from Target this year. He's vintage and he's vintage. I'll show you as we go down a better look at them, if I can. There we go. And then you'll see I have die cuts all along the hallway. I have things on this side. It's another fabric panel that I found the panel on eBay. And then again, I sewed that same harvest fabric on the back, so it's reversible. This is, I think, new from Dollar Tree this year, this skeleton. So I want my house to feel like you're walking through the neighborhood of Hocus Pocus, or you've stepped into a vintage Halloween movie. I found this guy, he does work. He has a very low moan. And he's supposed to be motion activated, but we were hanging him up. So he's hung actually from our air conditioner vents. You can see the wire going along. And his butt fell off the battery, the battery pack cover. I was changing the batteries and it fell off, so I haven't put it back on yet. But he does work. This is our guest bathroom, my son's bathroom. Oh, I forgot to turn the light on in here. The light's gonna like flare out for a second, sorry. My husband actually decorated this room this year. He was helping me out. Normally this is a Star Wars themed bathroom. So you can probably see Star Wars. That's all glare because of the light, but yeah, this is our Star Wars themed bathroom. As a rule, hi. More Star Wars. And now we're gonna go into my bedroom. My bedroom is decorated in the Frankenstein theme all year round. So I'll show you the stuff that is all year round and then just kind of tell you the things that I put out for Halloween specifically. Let me kind of tilt this mirror down because I don't want it to glare. All right, so any painting pictures on the wall are up all year round. My husband's dresser is normally clear. My vanity is normally clear. Sorry, got a phone call. So what I was saying was, I'm not sure where that cut off. Any pictures on the wall are up all year round. My bedroom is basically Frankenstein slash monster couples all year round. My husband's dresser is usually clear. The lights are not in here, the green lights. My vanity is usually clear, and my dresser is usually clear except for that Frankenstein bust and that Bride of Frankenstein bust. I actually made her. She is an antique marble bust. She's extremely heavy, and I got her at an antique market in Italy. And I did not want the plain bust anymore, so I turned her into the Bride of Frankenstein. But these other items are things that I put out for Halloween. So the green lights get put out, and all of the other statues get put out just for Halloween. This is a print from Frankenstein that I made. And we do a lot of, I do a lot of things as three family because it kind of represents me, my husband, and my son. So if you see three of something, it's a three family, that's us. And then this is my bed. The fairy lights are up all year round. And then on that side, I have another Frankenstein and Bride set. And then this is a picture of horror icon queens that I made. I found the image and I'm trying to get all the lights out of it. I found the image and I didn't like all of the queens that were on there, so I changed some of them. And then on this side, I have more prints, art prints. And all of the black and white prints, I printed. I just found images that I liked and printed them at FedEx. And then this is my bathroom. I don't have a whole lot done. I do have this vintage bubble nightlight and this vintage bubble nightlight. And then a couple of soap dispensers. And then in here, this is where a lot of our plants go in the winter time. I have a skylight in my bathroom. I have skylights in my living room. So we kind of put all the plants in these areas during the winter. That way they're not outside, but they still get plenty of sunlight. And that's everything. So now I'm going to turn all these lights out and show you how everything looks lit up at night. But that's the whole house. That's the full walkthrough. All right, so this is my bedroom lit up at night. I did have green battery operated lights strung along here, but this is where all of my bedding goes. So every week when I have to change the sheets, I have to unstring the lights and move all of these things. So I took the lights off. I don't mind moving a handful of little things, but I don't want to have to restring the lights every single time. All right, let's go up the hallway and then I'll show you looking back down the hallway how it looks lit up at night. So let me turn this off so you can get the bathroom. Oh, I forgot to show you these little towels in the bathroom. Okay, now I'll show you down the hallway. I'm gonna go through and turn off all the lights first. Hope I'm not making you too dizzy by moving too quickly. I would normally edit all of this out, but like I said, trying not to edit if I don't have to. So I don't have any lights in the library. This is the dining room. So I only have the curio cabinet lights and the True Tone lights, but these kind of light up the library area. They also light up the entryway area, which I'll show you from over here. Oh, let me turn the living room light out. Okay. So this is looking at the front door. And then this is looking down the hallway. I love that so much. That makes me so happy. I'm gonna come around this doorway here. I almost knock these jack-o'-lanterns off, these 2 Target jack-o'-lanterns. Every single time I come through this area, we block this off and close this door when people come so that my dogs can't get over here. And I almost knock them off every single time I go through there. This is the kitchen area again. My stairs. And then down into the living room. The living room is where we spend the majority of our time in the evenings. So I spent the most time decorating the living room. So I'm gonna start on this side and then I'll go around the entire room. Another vintage die cut that I printed. And I love how the glow of the living room lights illuminates the die cuts in the hallway. And this is one of my favorite areas. I do have little puck lights here that I always forget to turn on until it's dark in here, and then I realize I haven't turned them on. And I just noticed today that half of my string of lights is out. So I have to figure out which bulb went out. That large blow mold does light up as well, but I don't have him plugged in because I have a couple of other things all plugged in right here together, and his light wasn't very bright, so I just didn't even turn him on. You can probably hear my feet as I'm walking through because it's so quiet in here. If I didn't talk about these, those are the AI images that my son and I made. You can see my dogs. The brown one is, oops, the brown one is Ivan, and the white one is Pickle. So there you have it. That is the entire walkthrough for 2025. And I am so happy, first of all, that I got to decorate everything this year. We've remodeled the house, we were out of town, we had, just different issues, and I have not been able to fully decorate for 3 years. So to pull everything out and fully decorate my entire house for the first time in 3 years feels amazing. And I also didn't realize how much I had accumulated in that amount of time. Because when you can't put everything out all at once, you don't know what you've got, and then you forget things, and then you buy more stuff, and then you end up with stuff. And my style has changed quite a bit over the last few years as well. I think I have honed in and refined my taste, and I love the way every single thing looks. I don't own an item that I don't love. And that was the case before. I would end up buying stuff and, oh, that'll fit right there, or that's cute, I like that, but I didn't love it. And now I love every single item that I have. That's why you saw boxes and boxes of stuff in there, because I have just eliminated all of the things that I didn't absolutely love. So if my voice sounds scratchy, sorry. I've been sick for about 3 weeks. I actually completely lost my voice for a while. This is the most I've talked in a very long time. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me and asked me to do this video this year. I probably wasn't actually gonna do it, but so many of you had messaged me and asked me about it that I decided to go ahead and film it. And I'm so glad I did. Now I have a record of what everything looked like again, and I haven't had that for a few years. So this is just as much for me as it is for you. I'm glad we got to hang out and spend this time together. I don't really do YouTube anymore, but I do still do all the spooky things all year round. So I've been considering maybe coming back to YouTube, and it would not be just a single topic on my channel. It would probably be, Halloween stuff and art stuff and cooking stuff and just vlog daily life stuff, reading stuff, if I were to come back. So if that's something you'd be interested in, leave a comment, let me know. I will consider it. So yeah, thank you for being with me on this full home tour 2025 Halloween. And I appreciate you reaching out and spending this time with me. And I hope it wasn't too long, but thank you for being here. And I will see you next time. Remember, you are fierce, you are fabulous, and you are fucking badass. And I'll see you next time. Mwah.